Welcome back to the channel. I'm out today to try and catch some big pollock. I'm in a new spot and I'm going to go over all the things that made me choose this spot. The cliff behind me drops straight down into deep water, around about 30 feet, which is usually the depth that I try to fish when I'm targeting pollock. Underneath the water, that cliff keeps going down and there'll be loads of kelp growing out the side of it. So there'll be a wall of kelp going right down, and I'm hoping that's going to hold a good number of fish. But it is fishing, so there's no guarantees. I've scanned pretty much this whole area on the charts. I use Navionics for my charts, but there's a lot that are pretty good. I'll put up some images of this mark on the charts, and then you can see what it looks like on the charts and what it looks like from above as well. Before we have a look at the charts, it's important to know what habitat big pollock like, and that's deep water and structure. From a boat, that structure could be sea mounds or shipwrecks. From the shore, it's usually pier pilings, or in most cases, rough rocks and kelp. To find my spots, before I look at the charts, I'll scan the general area that I want to fish on either Google or Apple Maps. I'm not just looking at the coastline. I'll look to see if I can see structure in the water, like these kelp-covered rocks. This area looks much better than this spot, for example. The coast here is rough and rocky, but in the water there's no structure. It's all just clean sand. Just because you're standing on rocks doesn't mean that you're casting over rocks and structure. You can see here there's only small patches of rocks in the water, and it's mostly sand. It's much better to try and find spots like this one, where there is the odd patch of sand, but most of the seabed appears dark. It's rough, rocky, and probably full of kelp. This is what today's mark looks like on Navionics. The green area is the tidal zone that gets covered and uncovered by the tide rising and falling. Immediately after this tidal zone, the water drops straight down to a perfect fishing depth. This is what the spot looks like on a satellite view. A good tip is to enter 3D mode and rotate the view. This gives a much better representation of how the rocks and cliffs are actually shaped. It's also handy for planning your route to and from the fishing spots. Back to the Navionics view. Again, the green areas are tidal. Yellow is dry land, and the blue areas are shallow patches of ground. You can see, as I've zoomed out a bit here, there's some very deep water further out, and some blue shallow spots. The blue area was my backup plan for fishing today, and it's always worth having a plan B if your first spot doesn't work out. I've flipped the chart here so it matches up with my drone footage. The green area here is the low rocks that you can see the waves breaking on, but we know the structure continues out beyond there, as the blue area on the chart shows. You can see the dark patch of water here on the right. That's kelp showing, that's growing out of the submerged rocks of the blue area on the charts. If I did fish here, I would stand on either of these red crosses and cast along the edges of the structure. This is the satellite view of this spot. It doesn't give you anywhere near as much information as the charts do.
And it's always worth trying to get to a new spot at low tide, so you can see the kelp beds and any potential snags a lot easier. The charts don't always show everything. I try to fish water that's about 30 feet deep or deeper, and in the winter I try and find places that are at least 50 feet deep. Usually when I'm targeting pollock, I use big shiny metals like this. But today I was using a homemade lure. I cut it out of steel, painted it white, and added some glitter to the top half. I was casting close to the cliff and letting it drift down the side of it, and then winding it back in, right along the side of all that kelp.
Decent fish. Oh, it's a good fish. Oh, this could be dinner. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! Oh! I'll just get him in this pool. That's something I should have said before, is especially if you're fishing, catch and release, always have a little pool planned for putting the fish in while you unhook it. Just think ahead, because you never want to put them down on these rough rocks. I'm keeping this fish anyway, but I'll put him in here to relax until I get my knife, and I'll spike him and put him out of his misery quickly. It's an absolute beauty. I'm going to guess probably about £6. I've got my scales though, so we'll get a weight on it and find out. It's really long. It's not super chunky though, but it's probably just finished spawning recently.
My scales weren't working properly, and I couldn't get a weight, but I did measure the fish when I got home.
The size of his eyes. Put in the effort, that's paid off. I'll get at least a few dinners out of that. Fish. Oh, it's another big one. Maybe not quite as big. Oh, it's right at the ledge. You stay up here. It kind of drops away just at the edge of the kelp. Oh, come on, stay up, stay up, stay up. Yes. Come on, no! This one looks pretty well hooked. Oh. Come on. Oh, he's bleeding. I probably would have released this one, but just as I was going to net him there, I could see the blood in the water. I think he's really badly gut hooked. I think that's even bigger. It just didn't put up as good a fight. Absolutely inhaled that homemade lure. I'll measure this when I get home. That's about the same length as the PB we got a few months ago, but the PB was about twice as thick. I'll get the other camera up so I can show it off better. I'll just show the lure again. I just cut this out a bit of steel, painted it white, and stuck all that purple iridescent glitter on the top. So I think that's a 2.0 circle hook. And I've just got a clip and a swivel at the front.
I had plenty of fish for the table, so I headed home to give them a measure. The first fish was around 67 centimetres. The second fish was 73 centimetres. I think this was around 7.5 pounds, but it was really skinny. This fish in late autumn would have been much heavier, possibly a double. Since I started using charts to find my fishing spots, I've had so much more success. It is really worth doing. But remember, it's not just depth that's important. Structure is probably even more important than depth. If you can combine the two, you'll stand a really good chance of finding some big fish. I hope I've explained my method for finding pollock marks well enough, and it's not too confusing. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video and found it useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers!